Happy men do not find their joy in the arms of the crowd or in the rituals society demands of them. They find it in the silence of solitude, in the strength that comes from being free of illusions. And this is the part that will disturb many, because you have been told all your life that without love, without marriage, without someone beside you, you are incomplete. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Most men chained to love are not complete either. They are prisoners disguised as husbands, begging for respect that never arrives. Society will praise them for following the rules, but deep down, these men die a little each day, suffocated by expectations that were never their own. Solitude is not weakness, it is the highest form of self-respect. As Seneca once warned, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And nowhere is this more visible than in the fear of being alone. Men create nightmares about loneliness, while the true suffering comes not from solitude, but from building a life of dependency. Think of the countless stories you have seen, men who chose love over themselves, and in doing so lost their clarity, their peace, their power. They traded the discipline of their own mind for the chaos of another's approval. Epictetus taught in the Enchiridion that if you want freedom, you must wish for nothing outside your control. And yet how many men surrender that control willingly, hoping for peace from another's moods, validation from another's smile, security from another's promises? This is not freedom, it is voluntary slavery. Solitude, on the other hand, is the space where you reclaim mastery of your own life, where you learn that happiness is not a gift handed to you, but something forged by your own discipline. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that very little is needed to live a happy life, and that it all lies within yourself in your way of thinking. That is why happy men choose solitude, not because they hate love, but because they refuse to confuse love with chains. Musonius Rufus urged men to embrace simplicity, because only in simplicity can a man recognize what is truly essential. Solitude is that simplicity in its purest form. So listen closely, because what you will discover here may shatter everything you thought you knew about love, happiness, and what it means to live as a man truly free. You know this pressure, don't you? The family dinners where someone asks when you will finally settle down, the friends who laugh as if solitude is a disease, the quiet judgment when you arrive alone. They do not see your peace, they only see what they think is missing. And here is the tragedy. Men live in fear of being called incomplete, so they rush into bonds that suffocate them, thinking they are escaping loneliness. But what is lonelier than living a life that is not yours? Seneca wrote that the greatest loss of life is the time we waste in servitude to others' expectations, and nowhere is that servitude more visible than in the desperate race to prove you are worthy by loving at any cost. Be honest with yourself now. Have you ever chosen love not because you wanted it, but because you were afraid of being judged if you did not? That fear is not yours. It is planted by the crowd, whispered by voices that never carried your burdens. Musonius Rufus reminded us that philosophy is not words but medicine for the soul. And the medicine you need is courage, the courage to stand alone without shame. Before we go further, I want to ask you to commit to this reflection until the end. Because what I will show you may unsettle you, may divide you, but it can also set you free. And if you feel the weight of these words already, let it be a sign. Share this message with another man who might still be trapped in fear. And right now, tell me in your mind, do you value freedom more than approval? Your answer defines the path ahead. Let us not waste time with the illusions people love to decorate. You have heard the speeches about romance, the sermons about duty, the promises that love is the crown of life. But strip away the words and what remains is often a man who surrendered his will to the expectations of others. Epictetus made it clear that if you wish to be free, wish for nothing beyond your own control. And yet most men hand over the keys to their peace as if freedom were disposable. This is not honor, it is surrender. This is not maturity, it is slavery dressed in celebration. So from this moment forward, let us walk straight into the heart of it. No soft lies, no polite excuses. We will uncover why solitude, feared by so many, is the hidden foundation of true happiness, and why those who embrace it live with a strength most men will never taste. The first illusion is subtle, almost invisible. It begins with the whispers of society, the unspoken rule that a man alone must be pitied, that his worth is not yet proven. You see it in the raised eyebrows at gatherings, in the jokes your friends throw carelessly, in the quiet sigh of your parents when they think you cannot hear. They say they want your happiness, but what they truly want is for you to fit into their idea of order. Seneca wrote that it is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the man who always craves more. And in this craving for approval, many men trade their freedom for chains. They chase love not as a choice but as an obligation, believing that silence from others will give them peace. Yet that silence is never real. The demands only grow louder, and so does the emptiness within. Now imagine a man walking into a crowded wedding hall. Music swells, flowers shine, the guests cheer. He smiles, but not because his soul rejoices. He smiles because he knows he must. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them knows the truth. And yet the groom bows to the weight of those 10,000 opinions. His smile is a mask, his step a surrender. This is the second illusion, that love celebrated in the eyes of others will bring fulfillment. In truth, it is only another form of performance, a stage where the actor is slowly consumed by his own role. The third layer is the erosion of peace. Solitude offers a man the right to command his thoughts, to wake without judgment, to act without constant negotiation. But love entered out of fear takes this peace away. Suddenly, every word, every decision, every silence must be measured against the moods of another. Epictetus said that men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. Yet in these relationships, the view of one woman becomes the law of your house. You rise and fall by her approval. Your day is shaped by her tone, your night by her silence. What was once yours, the inner fortress, becomes a battlefield you can no longer escape. Picture yourself at dawn, sitting at the edge of your bed, your chest heavy, not from labor, but from the invisible weight of expectation. You know that a single wrong word could turn harmony into conflict, that a single pursuit of your own desire could be judged as selfishness. Seneca wrote that life is long if you know how to use it. But how many hours are wasted in arguments that resolve nothing, in compromises that erode identity, in sacrifices that destroy more than they save? What is left of your life if every decision is filtered through the fear of displeasing someone else? And then comes the fourth layer, the most deceptive one, dependence disguised as love. Musonius Rufus argued that philosophy should teach us to live simply, because in simplicity lies clarity. Yet modern love entangles men in debts, obligations, appearances. What begins as affection quickly turns into a ledger. Two names on contracts, shared responsibilities that strangle, promises that bind beyond reason. Your freedom to act is cut in half, your choices diluted. You no longer walk with clarity, you stumble through compromises, and in this stumbling you lose the man you once were. Dependency is not partnership. It is servitude, decorated with flowers. The fifth layer is the false badge of virtue. Society claps its hands when a man marries, when he conforms, when he sacrifices. They call him responsible, mature, worthy. But Epictetus warned that if you seek approval outside yourself, you have already sold your soul. The respect you gain is counterfeit, given only so long as you obey. The moment you express discontent, the applause turns to condemnation. What kind of respect is that? It is not respect for you, but for your conformity. You did not earn admiration, you bought silence with obedience. And silence is not peace, it is merely the absence of honesty. Think of a ship at sea. Alone you steer by the stars, free to change your course with the winds. But chained to love born of fear, your rudder is locked. Your sails are held by hands that may not share your vision. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to be like a rock against which the waves crash, unmoved by the storm. But how can you be unmoved when the waves themselves decide your direction? You become a passenger on your own ship, and the sea no longer belongs to you. By now the illusions have built their prison. First expectation, then performance, then erosion of peace, then dependency, then counterfeit respect. And at last comes the final chain, acceptance of slavery as normal. You hear it in conversations between husbands who laugh about their misery as if it were fate, in jokes about lost freedom that mask despair, in sighs that sound more like resignation than love. Epictetus would call this madness, for freedom is not something given but something chosen. If you choose chains, then the responsibility is yours. But here is the deepest tragedy. Many men prefer the comfort of shared misery to the courage of solitary freedom. They polish their chains and call them crowns. They decorate their prisons and call them homes. And yet, there are men who walk another path. They are not bitter. They are not broken. They have chosen solitude, not because they despise connection, but because they refuse to confuse connection with captivity. They wake with calm. They act with clarity. They live with power. Their peace is not negotiated. Their time is not wasted. Their respect is not borrowed. They know, as Marcus Aurelius knew, that very little is needed for a happy life, and that it lies within. They embrace the silence, not as emptiness, but as the soil where virtue grows. At the core of all these illusions, beyond the debates about marriage or solitude, lies a simple human truth. Every man must decide whether he will live for himself or for the expectations of others. This is not only philosophy, it is the shape of your daily life. When you wake in the morning, do you feel the weight of your own thoughts guiding you, or the echo of what others want from you? Seneca reminded us that the greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. How many men lose today because they are busy proving themselves to others? In solitude, you reclaim today. You discover the joy of walking without disguise, of sitting in silence without fear, of knowing that your life is entirely your own. And in that clarity, even love itself becomes purer, because it is no longer born of need or fear, but of choice. Epictetus said that freedom is the only worthy goal in life, and when you taste it, you understand why. Solitude does not separate you from humanity. It brings you back to the essence of being human, a man who lives as himself, not as a shadow of the crowd. Very few men will ever dare to see this truth. Most will continue to walk blind, clapping at ceremonies, chasing approval, decorating their chains and calling them crowns. They will laugh at the man who chooses solitude because his life makes them uncomfortable, because his freedom exposes their captivity. But you are not like them because you are here listening, questioning, daring to see what others hide from themselves. Epictetus once told his students that freedom is the only goal worth pursuing, and that everything else is just preference. To understand that now, to truly feel it in your bones, sets you apart from the countless men who waste their lives serving illusions. You are part of a minority, a rare circle of men who refuse to be enslaved by tradition or applause. And what does that mean for you? It means that while others rot in silent misery, you have the chance to live fully awake. It means you are not simply existing, but reclaiming the right to command your own soul. Few will ever join you here, but that is why your freedom is precious. The rarest treasures are never found in the crowd, but in solitude. But awareness alone is not enough, because once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. The pressure of the world will not weaken, it will intensify the moment you resist. Friends will mock you as afraid of love. Family will accuse you of selfishness. Society will brand you incomplete. And yet ask yourself, what is more selfish than demanding that a man betray himself just to satisfy the crowd? Seneca warned that he who does not know what harbor he is sailing for will never find a favorable wind. If you do not choose your own direction, the world will choose it for you and call it destiny. This is where the tension sharpens, because you realize solitude is not a casual preference, it is a battle for your very identity. Each day you refuse conformity. The world pushes harder to bend you back into line. And here lies the turning point. The next revelation is the one that will shake the very ground beneath you, because it is not merely about love or marriage, it is about the silent theft of your soul when you surrender your freedom to illusions. Here is the truth that most men will never face. The prison is not built by others. The prison is built by yourself the moment you believe that happiness must come from another person. Love does not enslave you. Your illusion of what love should be is what enslaves you. You think you are complete when you are chosen, when you are validated, when you are applauded. But the moment your worth depends on someone else, you have already abandoned yourself. Epictetus said no man is free who is not master of himself, and when your peace rises and falls on another's moods, you are not master, you are a servant dressed in vows. Imagine stepping into a cell with the door wide open. No guard forces you, no chain drags you. You walk inside willingly, thinking it is safety, and then you close the door yourself. This is what most men do when they rush to love out of fear of solitude. They mistake surrender for security, slavery for virtue. And as years pass, they forget when exactly the bars appeared, but they know they can no longer breathe outside them. Seneca warned that life is long if you know how to use it, but tragically short if you waste it serving illusions. How many years are stolen by arguments that drain, by compromises that erase identity, by sacrifices that never bring peace? The man who feared solitude thought he was escaping emptiness, but instead he created a deeper void, the loss of himself. Marcus Aurelius confessed that it is not death a man should fear, but never beginning to live. And what is more tragic than a man alive in body but dead in soul, carrying out routines he never chose, wearing smiles that hide resignation, calling his cage a home? This is not life, it is polished slavery. Musonius Rufus urged us to embrace simplicity, and solitude is that simplicity at its highest form, the place where you strip away illusions until only truth remains. The fatal mistake, then, is not love itself, but the belief that without it you are nothing. A happy man does not reject love, but he never kneels before it. He chooses solitude first, because only in solitude can he learn mastery of himself, and only a man who masters himself can love without chains. Until you face this, every relationship you enter is just another prison, another name for captivity, another step away from freedom. So now you see it clearly, the line that divides the man who lives for himself from the man who exists for the applause of others. Solitude is not emptiness, it is the foundation of strength. Love is not evil, but when it is born of fear, it becomes a cage. Seneca reminded us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it, and wasting it on illusions is the cruelest theft of all. Epictetus taught that freedom is the only worthy goal, and when you grasp it, you understand why happy men choose solitude before anything else. It is not rejection of connection, it is the refusal to confuse connection with captivity. And now I turn to you. Which part of this truth hit you the hardest? Was it the moment you realized how much of your peace depends on others, or the vision of men smiling in their cages, or the thought of stepping willingly into a prison of your own making? Share it openly, because your words may awaken another man who still sleeps. This is not just a video, this is a reminder that we are not alone in this awakening. Together we form a circle of men who value freedom above illusions, who refuse to bow to the chains others call virtue. Your voice matters here. Speak, and let the world know you choose to live as yourself, not as a shadow. If this message struck you, do not let it vanish as another passing thought. Act now. Share this video with someone who still believes that solitude is weakness, because he may need to hear that freedom begins where fear ends. Subscribe to this channel, because this is only the start of the journey. In the next video, I will reveal an even deeper lie, the one society still feeds men every day, a lie so subtle that it decides their choices before they even realize it. You do not want to miss it. Every view, every comment, every voice here strengthens a movement of men reclaiming their sovereignty. Let this be the moment you choose clarity over conformity, truth over illusion, freedom over approval. The chains break one decision at a time, and the first decision is yours to make right now.